The blizzard has been calm to us, or at least giving to us. We are back for another episode of League One on the Rocks. My name is Rich. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Rich, but I'm not. And that is the man who got the first exacto of the season. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. First exacto of the season. I'm feeling pretty good about it. A lot of other like personal stuff going on that is clearing up pretty good. So I just watched the Des Moines Menace also beat SKC too. So it's been a good day today. So minus the blizzard. I mean, staying home because of the blizzard sucks, but what can you really do?
Yeah. Man, it really has been a good day, a good week for you. This is awesome. We get you in a really good mood tonight.
Yeah, not too bad. I got to hang out and just didn't have to go to work. I'm dreading it tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie because it's all outside work tomorrow. So, uh, yeah, working in the snow is not gonna be the most fun thing in the world.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, you can find Brian on Twitter at Mediocre Ace. You can also find both League One on the Rocks and myself over on Blue Sky with the same username as Twitter. So come join the party over there as well. We have a ton of stuff to get through tonight. And I do not exaggerate when I talk about that because we have a topic in the league news that's going to require a ton of conversation. We have week 2 recap, we have Open Cup recaps, we have week 3 previews, we have a couple of previews for the Open Cup coming up this week. We have questions to answer. So, yeah, let's just dive right into this stuff. I was going to make a joke about how we haven't really had a whole lot of news going on in the league, but everyone knows exactly what I'm going to be talking about here. Uh, Before we get to that major topic, should be noted that another bit of league news is Jake Keegan going to Portland Hearts of Pine. This is his fifth USL League One club. That is crazy.
Yeah, five. I mean, yeah, five. Five clubs is no small feat. I mean, he's been around the block, um, and it's good to see him still playing and fitting in with teams and stuff like that. So it is it's really nice to see him around, and I mean he's still contributing too. That's the biggest thing as well. So that's what you like to see coming from these players. Obviously, you'd rather see him go up most of the time, but some cases you just don't get that. So sticking around in the league, it's another veteran guy that's here that has really earned his spot to continue to play in this league. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, you can't deny his contributions to League One, both as a whole and the individual clubs that he's played for. So it's good to see him still in the league. It is, there's going to be plenty of jokes about him playing for his fifth USL League One club, though.
Sure. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's understandable, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it just is. It is what it is, you know.
yeah, that's like Steve Nash in the NBA. He played for a ton of NBA teams, didn't he?
Yes, he
Pretty sure he
did.
did. I don't know. Anyways, before we get into the next topic, I feel like we need to advertise what we're drinking tonight, at least because we're definitely going to need to have a drink during this one.
Yeah.
Um, I know that we're waiting for Brian to come back on here. I am drinking Jameson, so I'm going to need this during the next topic because we're going to be dissecting this one. Everybody, it was announced officially from the league this morning, a quality writer like Paul Tenorio with The Athletic, writing about promotion relegation. Brian, what are you drinking tonight?
Tonight I am just gonna grab what I have here on my table. I have water, but I also have the Whistler again from our last show. I'm gonna continue to work through this. I really enjoy it, so we're gonna continue to get through it here.
That's awesome. All right, so if the prospect of promotion relegation doesn't get you excited enough, the very first sentence of this article from The Athletic gets me all kinds of excited when I read it too. Quote, in a historic move, United Soccer League, USL, Owners voted Tuesday to become the first professional soccer entity in the United States to adopt promotion and relegation. That alone, ooh, that just gets you all warm and tingly inside. Feels
Yeah.
so good to see that put in writing.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that, I mean, we've made tons of jokes since we started the show. I think even in probably our very first show together, we had made the joke about promotion and relegation coming to the United States at some point or another. Um, but yeah, just to see it finally kind of come full circle and actually be a thing now. It's it's weird. It's because it came out so early this morning. I had a little bit of time to process it, but it's still like not fully like sunk in and like been processed in my mind at least yet.
Yeah, and I think there's even a lot to process over at league headquarters, because when you look at the official statement and you look at some of the interviews that league headquarters representatives have done in the last 24 hours, even in the last, I don't know, 16 hours, there aren't a whole lot of specifics for us to be able to go over. Now, we can talk about some of the stuff. Um, like in the article, it said that USL Division One is expected to begin play in 2028,
Yep.
and headquarters wants to introduce promotion and relegation across three-tiered pyramid. So this would not include League Two. It would be USL Division One, USL Championship, and then USL League One. So there would still be the pre-professional route for some of the younger players, the college players looking to spend some time in the summer months before they go back to their college teams.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we know for a fact that we're going to have a three-tiered system. We don't know what version of the promotion relegation we're going to have, though, because if you look at Europe, there are a ton of different forms and versions of promotion relegation. Varied amount of teams that are getting promoted, varied amount of teams getting relegated, how those promotions are happening, if two are automatic qualifiers, if the third is by playoff, relegation in the same instance. I mean, I think, what was it? Belgium has a very different promotion relegation system as well. So it'll be interesting to see what we see ultimately implemented from USL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I
Now
think
we start getting, yeah, go ahead.
I think we don't have to completely do things the way that Europe does them just for the sake of doing it like Europe does it. It can be a system that is sort of Americanized at least a little bit, which I'm sure it'll be somewhat um, tailored to like the American market and stuff like that, which is smart. That's how they should do it because it is two different markets, two different kinds of soccer. So um, I don't think it has to be exactly like the European models, but I think we're going to see something. I mean, it's so hard to like come up with something fresh and different, quote unquote, for a promotion relegation system. I mean, it's pretty simple when you boil it down to its lowest point. It's teams come up when they're the best in their leagues, and teams go down when they're the worst in their leagues. That's how it is. So um, I don't I don't think it'll be much different than that, especially at least in the first season or two. Maybe it's one of those things, kind of like what they're doing with the Jaeger Cup last season. They throw it to maybe just between the bottom two divisions and see how it goes, and try to figure out exactly how they're going to implement it up into the top tier system. Because I also can't imagine that if you're bringing all of these teams up to a Division One status, you play in Division One for a year and then you drop back down to championship. That's especially with some of the rules and regulations that they're putting on teams to reach that Division One status, or at least rumored what it's going to be. Um, I think they're going to have to kind of tread lightly with teams that they bring up and dealing with promotion and relegation all at the same time. There's going to be a little bit of growing pain, I think, but in the end, I think it's definitely the correct move to grow this sport in this country.
I agree. And one of the major components of promotion relegation that truly benefits the entire umbrella is media deals. We see how beneficial the English Premier League, the Championship, League One, how beneficial all the benefits they gained from having a very lucrative media deal, with all the broadcasting rights that they've secured over there. Now, League One is on ESPN Plus. Championship, there's a few matches from League One that's also on CBS Sports Golazo Network. But when you look at Championship, there's a lot more matches shared between ESPN Plus and CBS Sports Golazo Network. And if they're implementing promotion relegation, you have to wonder if there's going to be a new media deal coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
And does that mean we move away from the current media deal that we have with ESPN Plus, that we have with the Vista broadcasters? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's maybe that's something that you continue for maybe League One. But I think really if when you watch, let's just take England for example, when you watch their pyramid system, you're getting the top leagues on, the what is it, Sky Sports over there or whatever their big network is. Um, you'll see the Championship and the Premier League and stuff like that on there. The lower ones, if I remember correctly, it's a little bit harder to find the lower division ones just because it's not necessarily that it's intriguing, but it's not as intriguing as okay, you have teams that are about to make it to this first division status. I think that's a little bit more, especially here, conducive to like the average audience. When they eventually find out that something's on the line like that, like moving up, I mean, obviously you're going to have to really market this and kind of sell it. But I think if you can get Division One on a big name network, and even if you get Championship on, CBS Golazo for all of their matches, and then maybe you keep League One on ESPN Plus, just so you have kind of a tiered system. Um, and in this example, big CBS has all of your Division One USL teams, and then you just move down the ladder. I think you're really going to have to sell it and kind of explain to fans, like casual fans, when it comes to the later portion of the season, these matches matter because it's the difference between getting a stipend and being able to grow your stadium, grow your team, do stuff like that, and losing out on big term money. And I also think that's the deal that they're going to have to do. They're going to have to negotiate a large amount because in my opinion, you're going to have to pay teams that earn their way up to be able to expand their stadiums, expand their roster, to be able to play in a Division One league. I don't think, because if you look at the standard for Championship, I think it's 10,000 seat stadium is the minimum for Championship, and Division One they're saying like 15 is. That's 5,000 seats. That's not a cheap amount of money, especially when there's some teams in Championship that are still in retrofitted baseball stadiums or sharing stadiums with other minor league teams, stuff like that. There's definitely going to have to be that discussion made. And I think that having a big media rights deal with one of these big networks, most likely CBS, since they already have, some relation with them via the Golazo network, I think they're going to have to negotiate a big deal to be able to make this lucrative enough for teams making the jump to Division One to be able to compete at that level and stay in that level. Because the worst thing that you can do, in my opinion, is jump up to the next division higher and then suffer because you just don't have the resources at your disposal to be competitive at that level.
And I'm glad you're hitting on those points, because that's exactly where I wanted to go next. Because when you have a lucrative media deal, it allows you to have those parachute payments for the clubs that get relegated. It allows you to have those promotion packages when clubs get promoted into the higher league. The value of getting promoted has to be enormous, so that teams have that allure, that have that um, enchantment of wanting to go up rather than turning down the opportunity of playing a level up. So it's going to be interesting to see how USL shapes the financial, I don't know, pyramid, if you will, to support both the teams being relegated down and the teams being promoted up. I mean, what do they call with the when you look at England, the championship, the playoff final, they call that the richest match in the world because there's literally hundreds of millions of pounds, dollars, euros, or no, they're not euros, they're pounds. Um, Hundreds of millions of pounds, sorry, on the line for that single match. And I obviously USL is not going to be able to support $100 million for a single match yet.
Right.
Hopefully, we do, in a few decades. But we've talked about the premise of a team, say from League One, getting promoted to Championship, and not being able to compete with the spending of some of the Championship teams, and not wanting to get in a in a losing battle week in and week out. So they would opt to stay down in League One. We've talked about that in the past. Now USL has the chance to formulate how teams truly see the benefits of moving up.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean they definitely are going to have to do something, and it's going to be it's going to have to be a monetary value that they place to come up, and I think that's going to be a floating number. I think the first season, it's probably either going to be too low or too high, and you'll either see a freshly promoted team run the table in their first season, or you'll see a freshly promoted team set a new low for points in a season. It just it's something that they're really going to have to model after these countries that have already had promotion and relegation for years, and really look at that model and try to put it into terms that the US is able to support, because that's the biggest thing as well. If you can't get the support for a Division 1 USL sides, you're going to be really hard pressed to be able to continue on promotion relegation. I think it's a really good idea. I think it's the right move. It's just really it's really scary to see what could happen if it doesn't really get a hold of people's emotions and draw them in. So it's going to have to be a huge marketing push. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of money spent getting the word out about this. And I expect the word coming out even now. Like, I think marketing for this is going to have to be building hype for these 2 years until it's implemented. And the big thing with all of this too that I don't think has really been touched on quite yet is this all hinges on the USL getting that first division status that is still up in limbo. It's not a for sure thing yet. It's been said that they want to do this. They still have to petition US Soccer to be able to do this. They still have to get it through, and then they still have to implement it. So there's definitely some steps still needed. But what they definitely can do, if they can't get a Division 1 set up in that same time frame, by 28, I think there should be no issue with them being able to promote from USL 1 up to Championship and relegate from Championship back down to League 1. So I think maybe in 28 that's what you'll see that first season. But it's all really going to have to the soccer wars are going to have to fight all of their battles first, and then we'll kind of have to go from there. But I think it's something that's exciting, and it's finally here, and it's really hard to come up with anything really else to say other than I'm just so excited, and it sucks that we have to wait 2 years to even see it.
Yeah, and I like the point you raised about the Division 1 status because One of the most interesting things I find about the USL trying to gain that Division One status, when they go to the U.S. Soccer Federation board of, the board to talk about becoming Division One, look at the people that are on that board and think about the connections they have and the business interests they have. They are very closely tied to MLS. So to see them open and communicating and willing to negotiate with USL on this kind of stuff is a huge step forward. Just getting in the door to talk to them about that, and getting the time for them to listen, huge step, huge
Hmm.
progress. I love it.
Yeah. And I honestly think that this may be kind of a turning of the tide moment in U.S. soccer as well, because we've seen not only has the U.S. Soccer Federation been willing to come to the table and talk to USL, they've also put up a prize pool for the U.S. Open Cup this year of $1 million. Granted, they're putting it up probably because more than likely an MLS team is going to win the Open Cup. Generally, that's how it goes, right? So, I mean, it's almost like betting when you know the house is on your side, but at the same time, the Open Cup now has a higher prize draw than the MLS Cup, higher draw than the CONCACAF Champions League or Champions Cup, whatever they call it now. It's the highest payout in U.S. soccer. So, um, I think there's definitely been some movement and a little bit more of a changing of the guard in the U.S. Soccer Federation. So, kind of like how you said, Rich, it seems like maybe this door has kind of been opened for the USL to kind of be able to move in and actually be able to negotiate at a table, and it being a little bit more fair than it has been in the past for the USL.
Yeah, there is still a ton to unfold on this topic, and there's going to be plenty of updates coming down the pipe in the next couple years. So we're going to keep a track, a very close eye on this one, and keep track of it and try to update you as much as we can as we go along. We can jump into the week two recap now. In week two, we had 5 matches, one on Wednesday, three on Saturday, one on Sunday. Had some surprises along the way.
Yeah, that's a bit of an understatement. Yeah.
Everything, week two opened up on Wednesday evening with a home match at Greenville in Paladin Stadium. Greenville taking the belt battle this year with the first of the matches with a 3-0 victory.
Yeah.
Brian, let me hear your thoughts.
I putting the fandom part of this aside, I mean Greenville just looked like the more composed, put together team. Um, I don't think it was necessarily because they had already played a match. I'm sure that didn't hurt them in this. Um, Granted, Union Omaha had quite a few people unable to attend the match or play in the match, big pieces, but so did Greenville. So this mismatch should have been a little bit more evenly played out. I know the stats would be a little bit deceiving. The stats kind of lean like it being a pretty even keel match, but just the eye test in this one, even from the very beginning, I think the even from kickoff, Greenville sent a ball down towards Omaha's backup keeper, and he juggles it off his knee out of bounds on the first kickoff. That right there, me watching that, I just kind of had that, oh shit, it's gonna be one of those nights kind of feelings. And full credit to Greenville. I mean, they took advantage of that. Um, I think early on, Omaha kind of took a little bit of the wind out of their sails. They looked pretty decent early. It looked like that high press was kind of really messing with Greenville. Um, eventually Greenville kind of just settled in though. They let their experience and their kind of big time players take over, and were able to put three past Omaha's keepers. So um, Omaha just never really looked like they had much of a fight in this match really either. There were large swaths of this where Omaha would have possession and would play really well, but were never able to actually get anything threatening going. So, like I said, full credit to Greenville. They just completely dominated and earned this victory here. And big shout out to Leo Castro too. I mean, what a stud in this match. I mean, I know you and I both had him as our player of the week and for the show's player of the week. So, um, just a standout performance from him, but also just Greenville taking care of business for sure.
Yeah, Leo Castro coming out with 2 goals and an assist. He was involved in every single goal in this match. Not to mention, you have Ben Zakowski filling in whenever Leo Castro was on the other side of the pitch or something like that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
looking at the formations and thinking about Liam McKinnon and missing Liam McKinnon, people are going to be talking about that most of the season.
Yeah.
But with this kind of a performance and the way that Greenville has started off their season, do you think that that voice is getting softer and softer as they rely on this crop of players?
Yeah, I think, it's always one of those things where when you lose big name players, there's always going to be question marks. But those question marks only last as long as the players on the field let the questions be asked. Um, I think you come out and I know, I know there was a joke made about it not really being a rivalry, even from the league itself, which was a little weird, um, because this to me is one of your big name um, derbies in the league. It's not on the same level as Richmond and Madison, but nothing's going to be on that same level. So um, that's kind of in a class of its own. But then you have all the like lower tier ones from there, and I think Omaha and Greenville, they're your two winningest clubs in the league. They played each other twice for a title. Well, should have played each other twice. They made it to the finals 2 years in a row to play each other. Only ended up playing once, but I don't. It's definitely a rivalry, but it's you stories are wrote about like plays like this. You come in against your rival, and Leo Castro comes in and just fills that void. So I think those voices start to get a lot quieter after this one. I think you got to give it a few more weeks. This has definitely jumped it up a few notches and quieted those questions down. But moving forward, this Greenville team's going to have to prove that they can get over losing all of the players that they did and the high quality players that they did. But so far in the first 2 matches, I mean, you get a draw and a win, you take that.
Yeah, and I love the partnership of Chapa Herrera and Pascal Corvino there in the middle because they played that 4-2-3-1, and both of those two players were their center defensive midfielders. And there's just a sense of calmness and composure between those two players. They see the pitch in a different way than a lot of other players, and they're just able to really hurt the other teams as they shift the momentum of the match when the ball is at their feet.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really entertaining to watch those guys. And Evan Lee screaming across the pitch, Connor Evans up and down that side, Ben Zakowski and Leo Castro just constantly trading, um, their high press and really cornering the ball. Let me switch it over to Union Omaha for you.
Mm-hmm.
We saw and we even heard directly from head coach Dominic Casciato during the offseason. I think the week after they won the final, he was talking about his sort of commitment to the 4-3-4. And as we look at the formation for this match, it was a 4-2-3-1. with a little bit of action from the wing backs, Charlie Ostrom and Dion Akoff.
Mhm.
Do you agree with the 4-2-3-1, or would you rather go back to the 4-3-4?
um, I think me personally, I'm always have always been kind of a uh, four back guy. I like to see four guys in the back. If your wings are able to kind of be fullbacks and run the entire length of the pitch, you let them do that. I think Omaha has that capability. Um, but really, I think Omaha's biggest issue is they lost a lot between last season and this season, and I don't think they've brought on enough talent to replace what they lost. So I think Omaha's definitely going to have to play with formations until they kind of figure it out. But that's also been something that Omaha has done since Dominic Casciato's taken over. So they will play with their formations. They'll figure out what works, and eventually they'll find their kind of system or way they want to run things. So it also hurts when you don't have full availability and everything like that. I think this is. I mean, if you go just based on the stats, I mean, Omaha didn't play horribly. They just didn't play that well either. I think, obviously, when you're holding 61% of the possession against a team like Greenville will let you take 61% of the possession because they have a stout defense. They know that they can kind of rely on that. But the big question mark for Omaha is who's going to be the person that steps up and scores goals when the defense can just sit back and kind of has you right where they want you and you're playing into their hand because you need a
Yeah,
guy on the field that can do that. And I right now you don't have somebody on this Omaha team that can do that.
yeah. And I mistakenly in the past I said 4-3-4. I meant the 3-4-3, so that was my bad. Yeah, and I agree with you. When you look at the stats for this match, aside from the scoreboard, a lot of it goes Union Omaha's way. But Greenville finding those opportunities and capitalizing on them. Um, there was a big Omaha chance early on, but then quickly converted into a goal from Greenville going the other way when they caught Russell Shealy off his line.
Yeah, there's definitely some things that Omaha needs to do. The backup keeper situation, I don't I don't have a disparaging thing to say about it. He looked nervous in this match. There wasn't a time where he looked super confident. Now, granted, you got a guy like Leo Castro coming at you and being involved on all three goals. That's a hard one to be confident going up against. But I mean, really kind of top to bottom in this one, I felt like Greenville was just able to convert chances, even when it was not really their best option, I guess is the best way to put it. They they didn't look that great, but they converted their chances. Omaha didn't look that great and didn't, and that was the big momentum swing in this match.
Yep, I agree with you. Going on to Saturday evening, Charlotte Independence hosting Richmond Kickers. And you and I were on opposite side of the fence for this one. This is when you got your exacto. So Charlotte finished with a 1-0 victory over Richmond. Tell me a little bit about your thought process about why you picked 1-0.
Um, I didn't see a whole lot of separation between these two teams, honestly. Both of these two are kind of, I don't want to say unknown pieces, but I think you have a lot between these two teams that neither team was spectacular last season. Um, I don't anticipate either of these teams to be spectacular this season. There were some pieces on both sides that have kind of changed. But for me, it's really tough for me to pick against a team like Charlotte who kind of prides themselves on being able to be clinical in their passing and just going through and even kind of trying to remember watching the match, both teams looked like they played that style really well. And actually looking at the statistics now too, it looks like Richmond even was the better passing team in this one as well. Um, but it's really difficult for me to choose against Charlotte when they haven't shown anything quite yet either. And then again, also being on, we talked about it last season. We talk about it every single Charlotte match. When they're at home, that field lends itself to their particular style of play. That super wide field, the way they like to play, playing down those outsides, it's really hard to bet against them at home, even when they're only playing in front of like 300 people.
Yeah, I was on the other side of the fence because I wasn't initially a fan of Richmond's 4-1-4-1 formation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the way I watch Richmond and the way I see the players commit to the formation, the way that um, their roles are utilized in that formation, I really like that formation for them. I don't think it would work with other clubs because of the personnel and the style they play, but for Richmond, if that's what Darren Sawatsky wants for Richmond, I mean that's gonna pay off for them. Now, obviously, it didn't in this match, but I mean, a 50th minute goal from Anton Sorensen. Um, but if you look at their back line, you have two CBs, Clyde and Griffin Garnett, um, that are leading the back line there. And then on the outside, you have Simon Fitch and Maxi Shenfield. I mean, these are guys who just have an unbelievable motor. Like they just cannot stop moving. It's fun to watch them. Simon Fitch is always involved in the big plays too. Maxi Schenfeld is always getting in the players' heads. And when you get beyond that back line and you look at their center defensive midfielder, Dakota Barnathan, I mean, he's the anchor for that entire formation.
Yep.
The 4-1-4-1 relies so much on Dakota Barnathan. Um, and his veteran presence there in the middle pays off for them so much because it allows Chandler O'Dwyer and Nils Silfert to go forward and just so many chances created, so many opportunities. And then you have Emiliano Terzaghi, almost playing like a false nine because he allows Hayden Anderson to move up and Darwin Espinal uh, to roam the other sideline. But I like the 4-1-4-1 for Richmond. It didn't pay off in this one. So I that's why I was sitting on the other side of the fence. Um, I also wasn't entirely impressed with the players that Charlotte brought in to replace the players they lost in the offseason. So I was more relying on Richmond's chemistry than I was on Charlotte's replacements.
Yep.
And it's the reverse mentality I had when Richmond played Tormenta because I was looking at Tormenta's replacements versus Richmond's chemistry. So I just can't pick Richmond.
Yeah, you know, in this match, I think there was definitely some things that Richmond saw that they're going to be able to move forward with, and I think moving forward into the season when they get a little bit more comfortable with this formation, if they continue it, I think it's going to end up working out for them. I do foresee them being a little bit better than they were last season. But again, I think Charlotte in this one as well. I mean, they're kind of a known quantity with the guys that you're getting. Whether it's Omar Sis and Clay Dimmick specifically, those two guys are anchors for this team. They've been there for a while. They both have play at a very high level for this team. I would expect them to be more and more involved with this team as it kind of moves forward. I think you're going to see a little bit more trust being put into those two players to be able to move it forward. So looking at it, going forward, I think Charlotte does definitely have a lot of growing pains as well that they're going to have to get through, much like Richmond. Um, but I also look for them to be a little bit better this season. I agree that I don't think that they brought on enough as well to really bolster a team from all the stuff that they lost from last season. But I think it's definitely going to be an interesting season. And I think that being said as well, I think every team in the league that lost somebody to either a side that desperately needed that or an expansion side. The expansion sides this season did an amazing job at going through and just picking out specific parts for these teams, and not just small parts for these teams, like big integral pieces to how they play these matches, and they just got taken off the team. So I think this season you're going to see a whole lot of growing pains from a whole lot of teams. I don't think this is going to be a season where one team is going to run away with the league at any point in this season. I think this entire season is going to be front to back. We're not going to know anything until the last couple weeks of the season. And I think that in this one really was kind of the storyline here, because even looking at the stats, Richmond was right there. And I think picking like 1-0s was smart, because I didn't really see too much of a difference between these two squads moving forward. But us having to pick one, I have to go with the home team most more often than not, because that home field advantage, even if it's not huge, it's still home field.
Still home field. Yeah. I want to give a couple of shout outs here really quick to some players over on Charlotte, because with this match, Omar Sis had 100 appearances for the club, which I think is incredible. He's had 82 appearances with the League One regular season action, 8 appearances in the Jägermeister Cup, 5 in the U.S. Open Cup, and then 5 appearances in playoff action for League One. So congrats to Omar Sis for getting his 100th appearance with Charlotte Independence. That's awesome. Another shout out to Matt Levy, Charlotte's goalkeeper. That guy has been waiting, it feels like forever, to become the starting keeper for Charlotte. Obviously, if you're competing with Austin Pack, that's a tough competition to get the starting role. But to see Matt stepping up and becoming the starter for Charlotte, kudos to him. Credit to him for a great match. He at this moment he still has a big competition for the starting goalkeeper position, because his backup is Drew Romig, and Drew Romig is a quality goalkeeper as well. So that could be a fun storyline to follow for Charlotte. But I'm glad to see Matt getting the reward of his patience with the club, and taking what he can to learn from Austin and the technical staff, and ultimately getting the start against Richmond. So good for him.
Definitely.
All right, we can move on to another Saturday night match. This is FC Naples hosting Forward Madison. This is one of the surprises that we had for this weekend.
Yeah, well, could not have been more wrong on this one if I had tried.
I had 2-0 for this one, for Forward Madison winning. Yeah, I am in the same boat with you. I could not have been more wrong. Man.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at it, Forward Madison, if you just looked at the stats in this one and didn't look at the goals, by all rights, Forward Madison should have had this score line. You should have had the exacto on this one. But that being said, that's why I rely more on the eye test, man. It just, sometimes that's just how it rolls out. I think in this one, Forward Madison just kind of got caught on a night where they just couldn't catch a break, and that's going to happen. Throughout the course of a season, it's really how you kind of go through out of this one. But this one definitely definitely stings the Mingos. Man, FC Naples coming in and playing a match that they did, I think it was more of a testament to just, man, I don't want to say this was all because it was an off night for Forward Madison, but Forward Madison defensively in this match were awful, just awful. Um, I mean, there was not a point in this one watching this where I was comfortable with their defense, and I'm sure Madison fans could agree with that one. Because I mean, when you go through and you only give FC Naples 28% of the possession, and they score on you twice, that's tough. That's really got to hurt. And inversely, Madison on offense just unable to do anything with that 71% possession. Um, but by all rights, everywhere else they looked okay. They just couldn't finish. It's just another case of a team being unable to finish. And I think you're going to have that. It's beginning of the season. We're 2 matches in for some teams for the season. So I think you're going to have that in these early matches. I think moving forward, I do think Madison will be okay. I don't think this is indicative of how this team is always going to play. I don't think they're going to be unlucky like they were for the entire length of the season. But full credit to FC Naples in this one, coming in and taking care of business against, for my money, one of the front runners to finish in the number 1 spot this season.
Yeah, the thing I like about Naples, obviously, I'm a big fan of Lalo Delgado. You know, we kept a close eye on him when he was at Northern Colorado last season, past couple seasons actually. But the tandem they have for their center backs, Breck Evans and Jake Dengler,
Yeah.
that I want to be in every room that those guys are having a conversation, because I just imagine that those are some of the most fun conversations you'll ever hear.
Yeah.
And I would also bet by the end of the season, every team in the league is going to hate going up against those two, because I want to equate them to like the Bash Brothers from Mighty Ducks 2, just going out there and hitting guys. These guys are deadly in the air. Like, you're good luck winning an aerial duel against Breck Evans and Jake Dengler.
Mm-hmm.
Also, once you get down to the ground, good luck like plugging your ears and trying to tune out the mental games that these guys are going to play with you, because their trash talking is I don't it's on another level from the other team or the other players you see in League One.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there's obvious chemistry there with Jake Dengler and Chris Heckenberg, because they played for Tormenta back in 22. It was interesting seeing Jaden Onen go against his former team. He played for Ford Madison back in 23,
I believe
I
so.
think. 23. But get used to saying the name Carson Henderlong. Scored 2 goals in this match. And spoiler alert, FC Naples won their US Open Cup match, and Carson Henderlong scored a goal in that match as well. So get used to saying Carson Henderlong.
Yeah, this FC Naples team is one of those teams that in the off season, what I was talking about from the last match, that just picked and chose different players that seemed like they would fit, and some really standout players. FC Naples is one of those teams that came through and did that. So, really looking forward to seeing what they can do as the season progresses. I think in this one, you didn't really get a full sense of how this team's actually going to play. Um, I think there was, I mean, you only get 28% possession, man. You're not really going to see a whole lot from this offense. You saw a whole lot from the defense, but I think they're definitely going to be a team that might shock some people this season. Moving forward, I think that offense is definitely, I mean, you said it, where Henderlong, we're just going to have to watch. That's an early Golden Boot candidate at this point, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. Just watching this kid play.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, last Saturday night match was Tormenta hosting AV Alta FC. And this one, I could have had the exacto. And we have text proof that I texted Brian and said, all right, my initial score prediction for this one's going to be 2-0. And then right before we submitted our graphic on our socials, I was like, I don't know. I'm going to change it to Tormenta 1-0. So I texted Brian just to confirm. All right, here's my final score prediction, Tormenta 1-0. Changed the graphic, posted it up. And then Tormenta wins 2-0. Son of a.
Yeah, it was rough. Rough day for you on that one. I mean, also not something I expected. I didn't. Tormenta was one of those teams that yet again has turned over almost their entire roster, um, but they look pretty damn convincing with the roster that they've put together this season. It's really hard to pick out any part of this that is a real big weakness for them. I know in this match they didn't really have too much of the ball, but their offense, I mean, their offense looked good, and that's all you needed to do. It was early. You get up 2 goals by the 16th minute. I mean, you're on cruise control for the rest of the night. So that's exactly what they did. Their defense held it down against this AV Alta team that has some players on it that you're going to be watching as well. Um, and especially with a guy like Villalobos in the midfield there being able to facilitate, I think they're definitely going to be a team to watch out for. But that being said, Tormenta coming out in this one and just in complete control. There was not a spot in this match where I really had any real thoughts that Tormenta was gonna not come away with this one. Um, Maybe a little bit towards halftime, it might have got a little dicey, but nothing too crazy for Tormenta in this one. And their offense, I mean, I know I'm not the stat guy, but I will go back to the stats in this one. Over over one in every single one of their G categories. That don't happen very often, and when it does, you usually get a performance like this. So not not really too many talking points that I can say for Tormenta. I think in this one, AV Alta probably could look at this and say, if a few more critical passes go through, maybe we press a little bit more, play them a little bit harder. Maybe we come away with a draw in this one, but to me, Tormenta just played this one perfectly.
Yeah, Yaniv Bazzini, when he scored in the 7th minute, that was perfect hunting from your number 9. Um, when the goalkeeper is indecisive and you're closing in fast, and you have guys behind you that are closing off the channels on either side of you, and now the keeper is in full-on panic mode, uh, and Yaniv Bazzini goes straight in for the kill. Perfect instincts and great coaching from Ian Cameron to get them to press high, even on those slow resets like that. That's how you get those goals.
Mm-hmm.
So great instruction there. And then his second goal was just a beautiful touch on that low cross into the box. Just a beautiful goal.
Yeah.
So for AV Alta FC, their goalkeeper, Carlos Aviles, probably a familiar name you've heard around League One talk. And there's a reason for that. Now that he's playing for AV Alta FC, this is his 5th League One club. He has played for, let me see if I can rattle this off the top of my head. I'm not going to be able to. He played for North Texas in 2019 and 2020. And then he went off and played for FC Dallas and came back to play for Tormenta in the 21 season. Chattanooga in the 22 and 23 season, Fuego last season, and now he's staying in California with AV Alta FC. Another player in League One history having 5 shields at one point in his career. This is crazy.
Yeah, it's not really something you see very often, but maybe that's one of these charms of American lower league soccer. You got two guys that have been in 5 teams in the same league. I also think that it kind of just shows that the talent in this league has gotten significantly better over the years, and there are still these guys that are kind of staples in this league. Um, and I think that also kind of goes to show the level of talent above as well. You don't see a whole lot of these players coming down from championship. A lot of the players that go up stay up because the top teams in League One. We've said it before, and I'll say it again that the top teams in League One are on par with upper middle parts of championship. So there's not going to be a whole lot of movement up or down between these players. It's going to be a lot of lateral moves, one way or another. So um, that's good though because we need talent across all levels, and I think this just goes to show that there is that talent there. Um, it may not have shown for AV Alta in this one, but moving forward, I mean, there are definitely worse teams that you could lose 2-0 to. Um, maybe Orlando City B way back when. That might be the only one that might be one that's definitely worse. So it's still early in the season. We can't put a whole lot of stock into all of this until we get a little bit further. But that being said, Tormenta definitely had some question marks going into this match, and I think they didn't silence them, but the voices got a little bit quieter with this one.
And much like Charlotte having a question mark with putting Christian Cheney on the bench for their match, we see a question mark with this one because Tormenta sat Sebastian Vivas.
Mm-hmm.
Do you read into that at all, or do you think it was just simply just resting and looking for the right personnel?
I think I don't put too much stock in a whole lot of decisions that managers make this early in the season. If this is week 15, something like that, then maybe you put a little bit more stock in it. Like, okay, seems a little weird that a big name guy is not named in your starting, and we don't know that he's injured or anything like that. So, but I think early on now, you're gonna have a whole lot of teams kind of playing with formations, um, playing with their lineups, doing stuff like that. So, I wouldn't throw too much stock into that, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's a good way of saying it. Well, moving on to the last match of week 2, we have Spokane Velocity hosting One Knox, and this is another example of how you can't count One Knox out ever. Because even if you look at Spokane's roster, you and I both leaned very heavily toward a Spokane victory in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, later stages of the match, One Knox keeps pushing and finds the equalizer just before final full time. So they scored in the 91st minute.
Yep.
Um, yeah, just a great showing from both sides, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really hard to find any fault in either of these. I think a 2-2 draw is probably on par because both of these teams were very evenly matched. Watching it early, I definitely would have given the edge to Spokane. They just looked like a team that was going to be able to break down this Knoxville defense, a defense that Knoxville prides themselves on being able to have. Um, but that being said, towards the end of this match, Knoxville kind of growing into it a little bit more. I think it's another one of those instances where these kind of growing pains are gonna show themselves. I think Spokane is a team that has bolstered its roster enough that they're in the conversation for one of the better teams in the league, but you just don't know that until you get matches under your belt. So um, I think talent wise, just looking between these two, I think Spokane is the more talented top to bottom team. But that being said, you know what Knoxville is going to do. Knoxville is going to be a defensive team until the very end of it. And they've kind of given themselves that stereotype of being a team that can come back late to beat you because their defense just wears you down throughout the entire length of the match. When you're having to pass around these guys as much as you are and dealing with the press that they have, it's going to wear you down. And that's exactly what happened in this one to get this draw against Spokane late.
Yeah, and to see One Knox having a higher XG, more shots on target, shots inside the box, touches inside the box. I mean, the list goes on. Seeing the amount of stats that One Knox has in favor of them over Spokane, crazy to look at. I would not have predicted that at all in this match. I would, if anything, I would have said it would be close to 50-50, but I would lean more towards Spokane in this one. Man, Spokane just I'm sorry, One Knox. Just I can't, I'm gonna keep saying this, but a team that you're never ever gonna be able to count completely out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of been their MO. So it's crazy to see that they've continued that um, into this season. I think there was definitely a few pieces missing in the Spokane lineup that maybe you just don't quite know why some of these players didn't start the match. Probably comes down to beginning of the season. Like I said, for the last one, that's just how it's going to be for a little while. I don't put too much stock in it, but that being said, this was a huge test, in my opinion, for this One Knox team, and they stepped up.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. All right, we are sitting at we got 20 minutes left, sir. We got to get into this. So we do have an active scoreboard going with all of our predictions. So we were both wrong on Greenville, Omaha. You got the exacto on Charlotte, Richmond. We were both wrong on Naples, Madison. And when I say wrong, we're both wrong on the score prediction and the result. For Tormenta and Avialta, I had the result, but not the score. And then we were both wrong for Spokane One Knox. And fans were wrong in every single one as well. So for the scoreboard, heading into the week, you had a 1-0 victory or 1-0 lead over everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of week 2, you had a 2-1 lead on the scoreboard. So combine it, you're sitting at 3-1 and 0 over everybody. You have 3 points. I have 1. Fans have 0.
Yeah. I'm not super enthused about only having 3. But again, it's early, man. I think all of us will kind of hit our stride here in the next few weeks once we see these teams play a few more matches and we get a better idea. But that being said, it definitely feels good to be on top right now.
Yeah. All right, let's head over to the live chat. We got to catch up on some of these messages here. Rancing Blue Penguin coming in saying, I choose you, Jake Keegan. Yep. Totally fits. I love it. We got to make one of those for Carlos Aviles now, too.
Right.
And then he's also coming back saying, I'd agree on 4 in the back, talking about Union Omaha's defensive position.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he likes that 4 in the back.
Yep.
Goalkeepers and 1980s Wall Street brokers. Keep with your lines. Love it. Love it. And then Tim's also coming in saying, you fell victim to one of the classic blunders. Never start a land war in Asia. Never go in against the Sicilian when death is on the line. and one slightly more famous, always go with your first answer. Always go with your first answer.
Yeah, gotta listen to
Should have
that.
done that. And then Luke Martin coming in here saying, how much does Tormenta having an Open Cup game Thursday have with Viva out last Saturday? Ooh, good question.
Oh yeah. I honestly I don't. I wouldn't think it would be that big of an issue, especially in this first round of the Open Cup. I mean, I don't want to say you should be beating these sides that you're playing in the first round, but more often than not, fully professional players should be beating amateur teams. Like it's bound to happen where one team is not going to do it, um, but you should be. You should have the legs to go the distance in this one. I don't think it really has that much to do with it. Maybe it was just a training issue. Maybe there's so many different things it could be. And down in Tormenta, I have to imagine that part of it is just being a little bit overly cautious, especially with a player like Vivas. I mean, caution's going to be the big one. This is a long season. If you don't have to play him, if there's any chance of an injury, you just don't play him this early.
Yeah. And I do like the fact that they have the ability to sub out Seba with Yaniv Bazzini, because they're both committed to Ian Cameron's teaching and coaching of that high press. They're both very committed to that. And it paid off for Yaniv Bazzini in that match against AV Alta.
Yeah.
And so for context, South Georgia Tormenta FC plays against Harbor City, which is in the UPSL. That match is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find that on YouTube Live. So I don't think that Tormenta is going to have any issue with Harbor City. I think it'll be nice to have fresh legs from Seva in that match. But if they want to play, say they play a 4-4-2 and throw Yaniv and Seba side by side and get them hunting, pressing high and all that kind of stuff, that could be pretty scary. But I think they'll have Seba in the match for the Open Cup match. Yeah. Good question, Luke. All right. So we got past the scoreboard. Now we can go into the Open Cup. I love the Open Cup. And just looking at yesterday's action, we had a ton of red cards, like uncharacteristically a lot of red cards yesterday.
A lot of red cards. A lot of really close, really good matches as well.
Yeah. Let me see here. So we had 6 League One clubs play yesterday, and 5 made it out. Chattanooga won, Naples won, Greenville won, Westchester won, and Alta won. So Texoma was the only one to go down. Now, this goes right in line with the question that we actually had from Ranting Blue Penguin Tim. What U.S. Open Cup / USL League One near cup set surprised you the most? And there's a follow-up question to this one.
Okay. I think the easiest one to pick from yesterday would have been Texoma. But actually the one that surprised me more than that, because expansion sides you never really know, especially with the Open Cup, the New Jersey Alliance versus Chattanooga Red Wolves match. That one surprised the hell out of me, and I had a ton of fun watching that one last night. Going down to PKs.
Red cards too.
Yeah. Red cards, PKs at the end, just really. And the fact that New Jersey completely missed one, just skied it over the bar, that really kind of felt like it took all the momentum out of their sails, because they played so well against this Chattanooga team that was hunting in that match. And Chattanooga looked like a really good side in that one. Just couldn't find a way to really get through and finish a team like New Jersey. I think you have to put a lot of respect on New Jersey's name in that one. But also Chattanooga coming in, throwing in their backup goalkeeper to take one of the penalties in full field gear, not even keeper gear. That to me is just a gutsy call.
Oh yeah.
But hey, Chattanooga, we're used to seeing them do weird, wacky, cool stuff like that. So that one was maybe my biggest surprise. Actually, another one, now that I'm thinking back on it, Greenville and Asheville City.
Yep.
A USL2 side taking a Greenville Triumph side that looked really good against Union Omaha to PKs. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that was gonna be my pick. I was surprised when they went to halftime 0-0. Then to see that they went to full time 0-0 and they were going to PKs. I mean, this is a team that battled hard against Westchester. This is the team that was dominant against Union Omaha. I thought for sure. Now, Asheville City, like, they're a respectable USL2 team, but still, I thought there was a much greater degree of separation between them and Greenville going into this match. So that was a total surprise for me.
Yeah, that was one that I was also watching really closely. It was cool to see a ton of Greenville supporters out there too. Even saw some sideline video on X about it not long after the match. That was cool too. But just one of the best things about the Open Cup, man, is you don't know what's going to happen. You get a cup set, 4-0 SC, the UPSL taking down Texoma. Cup sets, man. We love to see cup sets. However, last year and this year kind of, I'm assuming are going to be the same. I haven't heard to the contrary, but it's League One against the world still, if I'm not mistaken. But I haven't seen a whole lot of it yet because there hasn't been a whole lot of cups. There hasn't been any cup set opportunities for USL League One teams. So
yeah. So Tim did have a follow-up question. Does it count as a quote-unquote cup set if you're beaten by a lower league team in your first ever competitive match? Obviously referring to the Texoma match.
I mean, by definition, it's a cup set. Now, whether or not I would go as far as to say that for that one, I mean, I think you have to still call it a cup set, right? Because you're a fully professional side. You go in with a certain thought process that you should win the match, and when you don't, it's an upset. So I'm calling it a cup set.
Oh yeah, I totally believe that it should be called a cup set, but at the same time, even heading into this round, I had Texoma losing this match. The jitters of your first match. 4SC is already a good team as it is, so they had their competition against them in this match. But so I was buying into the upset alert on this match, and I predicted Texoma to lose on this one. That said, look at this Texoma team. Preston Kilwine on their back line. You have Ajmir Spingler in their midfield. Here's a surprise one for you. I don't know if you know this, but they have a striker by the name of Diego Pepe.
It's the brother of Ricardo, isn't it?
It sure is. Yep. I believe I don't know if he's fully signed with Texoma or if I believe he's on loan from FC Dallas.
Sure.
But still, fun to see Ricardo Pepe's brother
Hmm.
now taking the pitch in League One action.
Yeah, League One is massive. It's had the Pepe brothers in it, so um, yeah, I mean, really cool to see. I think Texoma put together a good squad. Maybe there is a little bit of the jitters and the fact that a UPSL team that you're going up against is known as a good UPSL team. That doesn't help, but also the fact that in the Open Cup, we've seen it year in and year out. You are going to get the best shot from the underdogs every single match. So until we get to a point where you have teams from the same division left and that's it, you're going to see these lower division teams completely sell out to win these matches because not only do you get the pride of getting called a cup set, you get the ability to move on to the next round and keep your Open Cup dreams alive. Can you imagine what $1 million would do for a UPSL team, a USL2, a USL1 team for winning this competition? There's a ton of extra incentive in this one. So chances are you're going to see every team completely sell out to win this competition this season.
Yeah. And, talking about teams selling out, Des Moines Menace. I mean, look at the players they signed for this competition.
Yeah,
And they won tonight.
they raided the soccer retirement home yet again, but this time it worked out for them.
I think the Sporting KC2 fans were chanting AARP at one point.
I, hey man, yeah, they were also chanting "You beat our 18-year-old kids." And I'm like, that's not really the flex that you think it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. Well, we did have a few matches today for Open Cup. One Knox defeated Appalachian FC 3-0. And then, Babacar Dieng was involved in two of the three goals
Yep.
for One Knox. Another cup set here. Richmond going down against Virginia Dream,
Yeah.
losing 3-1 at home too.
Yeah, I did not get a chance to watch this one all the way through. I watched the first half. Um, and I mean, Virginia Dream, you talk about a dream start, scoring against Richmond in the 8th minute. That that makes it difficult to come back from. But in the end, I mean, give it up for the Virginia Dream coming in and beating Richmond at City Stadium. Um, Granted, I will say, just a tad bit disappointed with the fans in Richmond in this one tonight. Not the turnout that I'm used to seeing when I turn on a Richmond Kickers match, but it is also the first round, and the weather that came through the Midwest today, I'm sure, is headed up that way. So I'm sure that has also kept quite a few people away.
Yeah. Also, the optics don't look great. That they were probably wearing their 30th anniversary of winning the Open Cup. That kit, I think they wore that one tonight. So the optics
Oh,
don't look great.
oh,
Yeah. I will say though, that the kit design on that 30th
oh,
anniversary, I love that kit.
top notch.
Love that
Honestly,
kit.
Richmond is criminally underrated with how nice their kits are. They're
Yeah,
just everything about them. Their kits are amazing. Their logos, especially the ruse. I mean, come on, man. That's it. It is criminal that we don't talk about how cool their stuff is more often.
yeah, I agree. Yep. Um, Another match actually happening right now is Ballard FC and Spokane Velocity. They are currently in the 20th minute, 0-0. They battled to extra time last year, didn't they?
Uh,
I think
I
they
don't
they
remember
battled
that.
to extra time last year, and I think it was Lewis who had the game winning goal against Ballard.
Yeah, and Ballard FC not a pushover lightweight team either. So Spokane definitely has their work cut out for them to get a win in that one.
Yeah, and they're playing at Ballard again this year, but they changed the venue in comparison to last year. So Ballard is actually playing in their home pitch, their home stadium tonight. They did not play in their home stadium last year. So you have to expect that the home crowd is going to be even more intense
Mm-hmm.
for the Ballard FC fans.
Definitely.
Oh, Tim coming in here saying it's being reported that Chattanooga Red Wolves will be playing Chattanooga FC in the round 2 of the Open Cup, April 2nd at 7 p.m. I think it should be on April 1st.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. Oh boy. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. It's gonna be something. Let's go Red Wolves. This, I'm gonna be interested to see. I think the turnout should be amazing for that one. Theoretically, um, hopefully it turns out. We need more things like this to draw more eyes to the Open Cup. So I would
Yeah.
love to see it personally.
Yep. All right, Tim, fact checking me here. It wasn't extra time; it was stoppage time, and it was Lewis who did score the game winner. So I'll get half right for that one.
I mean, 90 plus 7. Come on, you're essentially in extra time at that point.
Yeah. As far as tomorrow, we have 4 matches from League One Brethren. We start off with Portland Hearts of Pine takes on CD. Yep,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to butcher that name. Fiolense? Sure.
Way better than I would have done.
Kickoff for that one is 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All these matches are going to be on YouTube Live. Next up is Ford Madison getting a rematch against Duluth FC at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. There at Breese Stevens Field. Long Island Rough Riders hosts Charlotte Independence for a 7 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff.
God, get them in League
And
One. That is the greatest name I've ever heard in my entire life.
yeah, that is a good one. And then, as we mentioned earlier, Tormenta FC hosts Harbor City at 7 p.m. Eastern Time there at Tormenta Stadium. There was some news announced earlier today that because of this blizzard and the travel difficulties from Union Omaha and the gracious flexibility of Flatirons FC, that match has been pushed to Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That one, once again, will still be on YouTube Live. You can watch that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, those are the rest of the League One matches we have in the Open Cup. Now, we have to get into week 3 because even though we've talked a bunch about the Open Cup, we still have regular season matches this weekend. We have 3 matches.
Yep.
Richmond taking on AV Alta FC. This is going to be Saturday. All these matches are Saturday. This first one kicks off at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Plus. Just a quick prediction here, Brian. What you got?
Yeah. I mean, I like what I saw from the Richmond Kickers. AV Alta, I expect them to come out and play a little bit better in this one. But I gotta go with the known quantity on this one, and I like the Kickers 1-0.
1-0 over AV Alta. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be Richmond's home opener for regular season play. Obviously, they played at City Stadium tonight, or last night. Sorry.
Yep.
No, that was tonight. Yeah,
That's
that was tonight.
Yep.
So then now they get their home opener for regular season play. This will be their 3rd match. AV Alta has already played Tormenta. I'm trying to think of who else they played so far this season. They've only played Tormenta. So I'm going to go Richmond 2-0. Over AV Alta. Okay. Now at 7 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff, we have Spokane Velocity hosting FC Naples.
Yeah. 2 teams that put on a good showing. 2 teams with very good rosters. Ooh. This one's in Spokane.
Yeah.
like FC Naples. I think FC Naples comes into Spokane and gets it done 2-1.
Nice. Okay, so this will be Spokane Velocity's home opener. Actually, no, this will be their second match at home. They had one Knox last Sunday.
Yep.
This will be Naples' first time on the road. I'm going to take Spokane. I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to say Spokane 2-1.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of separation between these two teams. They both looked the part. So yeah, I really couldn't argue with either one of these score lines.
Yeah. So we just talked about Texoma getting their first ever match in competition. Now we get to see their first ever match in League One competition. They take on One Knox Saturday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, it's tough. I'll have to go back and watch more of the Texoma Open Cup match to get a better idea. But just kind of coming off of what I know about Texoma's roster, and what I've seen from One Knox before, and what I have a feeling I'll continue to see. I like One Knox in this one, and I really don't think it's going to be that close. I like One Knox 3-0.
3-0.
I think their defense is going to be too hard for Texoma to come in and try to beat them. So
I'm going to go pretty similar to you. I don't think Texoma is going to be able to get it done at home against One Knox. I think it'll be a 2-0 victory for One Knox. You have 3-0. I have 2-0.
yeah, I think One Knox is one of those teams that made the strides between last year and this year to put themselves in the conversation.
Yep, totally agree. All right, we are running up against the clock here. So if you have any last second questions, get those in. We can certainly answer those. I'm not seeing anything more on social media here. So unless we don't have anything in the live chat, I think we are good to go.
I'm not seeing anything else quite yet. Give
Cool. All right.
an extra minute or two just to kind of get one in there if there is. But either way, super exciting. I'm definitely going to head over and watch the rest of the Open Cup match, Ballard and Spokane for sure. But yeah, it's been good. I'm glad League One soccer's back and Open Cup's back. Now all we need to do is get the Jägermeister Cup in the mix and be set. It'd be a great time. Promotion relegations coming. What more can you ask for?
I was looking at the regular season, and I was trying to put in like the Open Cup days, and if teams win this round, when is the next Open Cup round, and trying to line up all the matches for this season because I have a giant table here. And man, if you thought you were going to have any bye weeks, if you're a player and you thought you were going to have any bye weeks,
no.
Good luck. Because if you start advancing into the later rounds of the Open Cup, I mean, you're going to have match after match after match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nope.
Just a side thought here now that I've turned on the Spokane and Ballard match. We should normalize primary color versus primary color matches because these baby blues against these all reds, beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So nice.
I don't have it turned on yet.
Yeah.
I'll turn it on as soon as we're done. That's
Spokane's
awesome. That's
wearing
cool.
the all blues and Ballard's wearing the all reds. Ooh, looks good.
Yeah. Tim's last comment of the night coming in saying, all I can ask for is a cup you can drink out of. Amen.
Yeah. Just have to. I got an angle grinder. We can make sure that cup can be drunk out of. We'll just figure it out. U.S. Open Cup.
U.S. Open Cup Color Rush.
Yes.
Like it. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of League One on the Rocks. My name is Rich. You can find me on Twitter at and Blue Sky at I'm Rich But I'm Not. And that is Brian. You can find him at Mediocre Ace.